I'm going to go ahead and start the recording. And we are in the supplements, the Song of Prayer. And today we are going to start with section 3, which is praying for others. So I'll go ahead and read that. And when I'm done with this section, we can discuss it. Praying for others. We said that prayer is always for yourself, and this is so. Why then should you pray for others at all? If you should, how should you do it? Praying for others, if rightly understood, becomes a means for lifting your projections of guilt from your brother and enabling you to recognize it is not he who is hurting you. The poisonous thought that he is your enemy, your evil counterpart, your nemesis, must be relinquished before you can be saved from guilt. For this, the means is prayer of rising power and with ascending goals until it reaches even up to God. The earlier forms of prayer at the bottom of the ladder will not be free from envy and malice. They call for vengeance, not for love, nor do they come from one who understands that they are calls for death, made out of fear by those who cherish guilt. They call upon a vengeful God, and it is he who seems to answer them. Hell cannot be asked for another and then escaped by him who asks for it. Only those who are in hell can ask for hell. Those who have been forgiven, those who have been forgiven and who accepted their forgiveness could never make a prayer like that. At these levels, then, the learning goal must be to recognize that prayer will bring an answer only in the form in which the prayer was made. This is enough. From here, it will be an easy step to the next levels. The next ascent begins with this. What I have asked for my brother is not what I would have. Thus have I made of him my enemy. It is apparent that this step cannot be reached by anyone who sees no value or advantage to himself in setting others free. This may be long delayed because it may seem to be dangerous instead of merciful. To the guilty, there seems indeed to be a real advantage in having enemies, and this imagined gain must go if enemies are to be set free. Guilt must be given up and not concealed. Nor can this be done without some pain, and a glimpse of the merciful nature of this step may for some time be followed by a deep retreat into fear. For fear's defenses are fearful in themselves, and when they are recognized, they bring their fear with them. Yet what advantage has an illusion of escape ever brought a prisoner? His real escape from guilt can lie only in the recognition that the guilt has gone. And how can this be recognized as long as he hides it in another and does not see it as his own? Fear of escape makes it difficult to welcome freedom, and to make a jailer of an enemy seems to be safety. How then can he be released without an insane fear for yourself? You have made of him your salvation and your escape from guilt. Your investment in this escape is heavy, and your fear of letting go is strong. Stand still an instant now and think of what you have done. Do not forget that it is you who did it and who can therefore let it go. Hold out your hand. This enemy has come to bless you. Take his blessing and feel how your heart is lifted and your fear released. Do not hold onto it, nor onto him. He is a son of God along with you. He is no jailer, but a messenger of Christ. Be this to him, that you may see him thus. It is not easy to realize that prayers for things, for status, for human love, for external gifts of any kind are always made to set up jailers and to hide from guilt. These things are used for goals that substitute for God and therefore distort the purpose of prayer. The desire for them is the prayer. One need not ask explicitly. The goal of God is lost in the quest for lesser goals of any kind, and prayer becomes requests for enemies. The power of prayer can be quite clearly recognized, even in this. No one who wants an enemy will fail to find one, but just as surely will he lose the only true goal that is given him. Think of the cost and understand it well. All other goals are at the cost of God. Well, that was interesting.
What a twisted web we weave.
Yes, it is, and sure, it sure is. I thought it was really interesting that said, even the desire for material things is a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a desire for love from relationships is a prayer. And it's all to set other idols before God.
So it's even saying that the desire for love is an idol.
I guess that they're saying if it's a desire for like a relationship love, you know,
Yeah.
because they say that the only true way of sharing love is when you are complete and whole and filled with self-love and love for the one mind of God that we all share. And only in that can you actually extend love. So everything else really is just a, just an idea of lack.
Yeah.
There's something I don't have, therefore I need it from another because I don't have it in myself.
So would that mean that all desire is prayer?
Yes, I think that's what they're saying. But also that the essence of the desire for things that are, I don't want to put it in my word, material things, right, are in essence putting that first. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, again, the paradox, right? When you show up of service and you are of the desire to share your gifts, then abundance is the result, right? But if you show up in need and lack and desire for things that you don't have, then the result is staying in that place of need and lack and desire. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, so in essence, what it's saying, prayer is a lack.
Right. Right, because as we said, that prayer is always for yourself. Right.
And
It's
believing that our brother is guilty of sin.
Right. When you're
Wow.
praying for others, right? Because then you see them as having lack.
You only see your brother as guilty if you yourself are guilty.
Yes, it's a projection.
And then in essence, right, you're the one that's having that experience.
So you have to set him free in order to be free yourself.
Right. And I'm not sure which comes first or if it's simultaneous. Right.
Simultaneous.
Carol's going to chime in. I just can feel it coming.
I don't know if you could possibly see me jumping around on screen. Were you seeing my face all over the place?
No.
Oh,
No.
that's all. I couldn't open up anything, and I was just flying all over. It was weird. really strange.
No,
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, about love. I think it's when you feel your own inner love and sense of connection with God that you could share that with another, because it talks about when you're in search of that human love, that's the idol. But when you have that connection within yourself and share that with another,
Right,
it's just beyond.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that makes me feel a little bit better in that. And I say a little bit better, right?
Were you feeling
In-
guilty before that, Ernesto?
Well, so when I pray, I guess, because I definitely don't pray like I used to. I'll put it that way. And when I think of trying to set peace for myself, I do think of the word love, and I start sending love to whoever pops into my mind, however convoluted that is in terms of what, I just think of the word and I send it visually, mentally. Even and it's a Buddhist prayer too that I learned way back when, about that you look at three pretty much situations. The ones you love that are close to you, that's easy, right? To be able to send love to them. Then your acquaintances, the middle ground ones, and then the people that you feel have wronged you, or you still feel some kind of anger towards them, send love to those as well. Or people that have maybe triggered you during the day, or something that made you feel uncomfortable. And that's how I send prayers to others. And sometimes I'll do the other one. The other one is, you start home, you open up through all your neighbors, the street, the city, the county, the state, the continents, the world, and then other worlds out there, because I know there's other existence of life out there. Maybe I'm putting myself on a limb here, but it's all inclusive.
Mhm.
If I can say that, that's what I do with my prayer, and that's kind of settles me down at night. Especially, I go to sleep feeling really good about myself, but it's because I try to bring that love into myself first. I forgot to say, you start with yourself. Try to bring all that love into yourself, and it's really it's remarkable that just those thoughts help. They help.
That's the Buddhist prayer, isn't it?
Yes,
The Metta Bhavana.
yes, it's Buddhism.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so it says the first line of what we read, we said that prayer is always for yourself. And this is so.
Yep.
Any other thoughts, or should we keep going? Thank you for the share. That was good sharing. All right, let's go ahead and continue. Hopefully I won't choke on this one. Praying with others. Until the second level at least begins, one cannot share in prayer. For until that point, each one must ask for different things. But once the need to hold the other as an enemy has been questioned, and the reason for doing so has been recognized, if only for an instant, it becomes possible to join in prayer. Enemies do not share a goal. It is in this their enmity is kept. Their separate wishes are their arsenals, their fortresses in hate. The key to rising further still in prayer lies in this simple thought, this change of mind. We go together, you and I. Now it is possible to help in prayer, and so reach up yourself. This step begins the quicker ascent, but there are still many lessons to learn. The way is open, and hope is justified. Yet it is likely at first that what is asked for, even by those who join in prayer, is not the goal that prayers should truly seek. Even together, you may ask for things and thus set up but an illusion of a goal you share. You may ask together for specifics and not realize that you're asking for effects without the cause. And this you cannot have. For no one can receive effects alone, asking a cause from which they do not come to offer them to him. Even the joining then is not enough. If those who pray together do not ask before all else, what is the will of God? From this cause only can the answer come, in which are all specifics satisfied, all separate wishes unified in one. Prayer for specifics always asks to have the past repeated in some way. What was enjoyed before or seemed to be, what was another's and he seemed to love. All these are but illusions from the past. The aim of prayer is to release the present from its chains of past illusions, to let it be a freely chosen remedy from every choice that stood for a mistake. What prayer can offer now so far exceeds all that you asked before, that it is pitiful to be content with less. You have chosen a newborn chance each time you pray. And would you stifle and imprison it in ancient prisons when the chance has come to free yourself from all of them at once? Do not restrict your asking. Prayer can bring the peace of God. What time-bound thing can give you more than this? In just the little space that lasts until it crumbles into dust. I like that. We go together, you and I. I like that beginning prayer. It kind of dissolves the separateness.
And it's no good praying for anything of this world.
No. So I guess the whole prayer would be, we go together, you and I. What is the will of God? Period. And then we quiet our mind and wait for the answer.
I just was reminded of something that was quoted from a young, something like a 13-year-old dying of cancer, came out with the beautiful truth that the most important thing in the world is how much love you can give and how much love you can receive out of the mouth of a 13-year-old. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that is beautiful.
The other concept that for in praying, and I heard this at least 10 or maybe more years ago, so there's probably more by now. I'm sure the number probably has increased. Is that at any time we are in this kind of state of prayer, there's close to 15,000 people worldwide doing the same thing at any point in time. And just the thought of that is not, man, it's probably a bigger number by now, but anyway, just the thought of knowing that you're not praying alone, that you have all these other people joining in, for me, makes it that much more intense or powerful, if I can even say the word. That much more stronger, you know, just to know that. And whether it's whatever religion it is, it also puts
remember,
that
I was going to say, every thought really is a prayer. So we are having, all of us having thoughts all the time. If the thoughts line up, then you have more power in it, shall we say, because there is more of that energy being sent out and then received back, and therefore the action is based on that. And so then there's like action, but every thought is a prayer.
Thank you for pointing that out, Mary. That's true. And it's hard to remember that, right?
But also, if we identify as the one mind that we all share, then we're all one anyway.
Right.
because
There is no separate.
these bodies are just illusions, aren't they? They're not who we really are. Who we really are is the mind, which is part of the one mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, shall we keep going and see if they're going to tie all this into a nice little bow for us? Next section, the latter ends. Prayer is a way to true humility. And here again, it rises slowly up and grows in strength and love and holiness. Let it but leave the ground where it begins to rise to God, and true humility will come at last to grace the mind that thought it was alone and stood against the world. Humility brings peace because it does not claim that you must rule the universe, nor judge all things as you would have them be. All little gods it gladly lays aside, not in resentment, but in honesty and recognition that they do not serve. Illusions and humility have goals so far apart they cannot coexist, nor share a dwelling place where they can meet. Where one has come, the other disappears. The truly humble have no goal but God, because they need no idols, and defense no longer serves a purpose. Enemies are useless now, because humility does not oppose. It does not hide in shame, because it is content with what it is, knowing creation is the will of God. Its selflessness is self. And this it sees in every meeting, where it gladly joins with every son of God, whose purity it recognizes that it shares with him. Now, prayer is lifted from the world of things, of bodies, and of gods of every kind, and you can rest in holiness at last. Humility has come to teach you how to understand your glory as God's Son and recognize the arrogance of sin. A dream has veiled the face of Christ from you. Now can you look upon his sinlessness? High has the ladder risen. You have come almost to heaven. There is little more to learn before the journey is complete. Now can you say to everyone who comes to join in prayer with you, I cannot go without you, for you are part of me. And so he is in truth. Now can you pray only for what you truly share with him? For you have understood he never left. And you, who seemed alone, are one with him. The letter ends with this: for learning is no longer needed. Now you stand before the gate of heaven, and your brother stands beside you there. The lawns are deep and still, for here the place appointed for the time when you should come has waited long for you. Here will time end forever. At this gate, eternity itself will join with you. Prayer has become what it was meant to be, for you have recognized the Christ in you.
Mm.
I got goosebumps when I read that. That was really beautiful.
There's hope for us all still.
All we have to do is remember that we are all one. That's it. I cannot go without you, for you are a part of me. Right? Yeah.
It is simple. It's just a matter of remembering to apply that which consistently goes across the board, instead of the way our mind works is to always look for the exception to that. Like when we were just talking about prayer. If every thought is a prayer, then you don't have to get into, oh, well, I have to be quiet now, and I have to be in an attitude of prayer, and I have to be beseeching, and all of those things, or I'm in lack, therefore I'm praying. None of that exists, because every thought is. And so when you keep these higher consciousness laws in mind and apply them across the board, then it turns the complex, the complicated, into something that's really quite simple. And you get natural at it, because it is naturally who you truly are. You just have gotten into the habit of deceiving yourself.
Right. It's just the simplicity of it, Mary. Thank you for sharing that.
Mary, Mary just spoke to the comment, a dream has veiled the face of Christ from you. And if you take that veil away, you see clearly.
Mhm. Right. Right. All right. Are we ready to continue to forgiveness?
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. Here we go. Forgiveness, introduction. Forgiveness offers wings to prayer to make its rising easy and its progress swift. Without its strong support, it would be vain to try to rise above prayer's bottom step, or even to attempt to climb at all. Forgiveness is prayer's ally, sister in the plan for your salvation. Both must come to hold you up and keep your feet secure, your purpose steadfast and unchangeable. Behold the greatest help that God ordained to be with you until you reach to him. Illusion's end will come with this. Unlike the timeless nature of its sister, prayer, forgiveness has an end, for it becomes unneeded when the rising up is done. Yet now it has a purpose beyond which you cannot go, nor have you need to go. Accomplish this, and you have been redeemed. Accomplish this, and you have been transformed. Accomplish this, and you will save the world. Right. Forgiveness, simple, but not always easy.
There's not that many times in this book that they refer to sister or mother. It's always father and
Yeah.
brothers.
Good point. Good point, Carl.
Is this still Helen Schuckman writing or channeling?
I don't know. I'm assuming it is, but that is just an assumption on my part. I would have to actually look into that.
Yeah, because I was thinking, if that is the case, you have to remember that the times that was written was a whole different concept in the way things were written in the male
Sure.
form, right? For he and father, and that's, I mean, for someone who is an atheist, is that what she was known as also?
Yes.
She definitely writes it in a very, I want to say, Christian form.
It just said the Song of Prayer was taken down by Helen Schuckman in the same manner as A Course in Miracles.
Yes.
So yes, I'm guessing it was channeled also.
So then that would explain I think the he or his and that those kind of pronouns, right?
Yeah. Well, now there's so many more pronouns.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the gist that I got of that was that in essence, there's no need for forgiveness because there's nothing to forgive.
Right.
Is that, I mean,
Right.
there's, so forgiveness that, we all work so hard to think about, you think somebody did you dirty, you got to figure out a way that you're going to forgive that person or whatever at the end of the day. That really isn't, there's no truth to that, and that there's nothing to forgive because there was there was no sin, there was no infraction. Right? So
Yeah.
you don't really even need forgiveness because there's nothing to forgive.
Right. Yeah.
Correct. It's just a practice in our illusory thing that helps us think that we're making progress to that state of being. For us, it's kind of sort of a logical thinking approach to it. I'm going to follow this step and this step and this step. So forgiveness becomes key important, or acceptance even becomes more key important in
Right.
that process. But once you've quote unquote arrived and are able to be in that state of higher consciousness, then none of it exists. And therefore it seems so, to look back on it, it's like, wow, I made this so difficult, because the answers are all there when you're seeing through other eyes. The lenses are clear.
Right. So I know that Carla was asking about that it said it seems like it's written in a very Christian format. And I'm just going back to the original introduction, and I think it explains it there. It says, okay. Consequently, even though the language of A Course is that of traditional Christianity, it expresses a non-sectarian, non-denominational spirituality. A Course in Miracles, therefore, is a universal spiritual teaching, not a religion.
Be awfully
Yes.
hard for it not to be sound Christian when Christ is dictating to you.
Right. And it also says, words are but symbols of symbols. So even the word Christian is a symbol of a symbol, right? Depending on what that means to you. And I think that's why the original lessons are so important, right? This hand is not this hand. This cup is not this cup. This pen is not this pen. It contains all the meaning I have for it. And even the word Christianity contains all the meaning that I have for it based on my early indoctrination of people who went to church.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It sounds Christian, but it really is. It sounds a lot less Christian than the Bible does.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think I have to continuously keep bringing into my mind that it's talking when the word God is mentioned, it's talking about higher self. If you incorporate those words in there instead, because
Instead
the voice
of
that
the
we
word
hear,
God.
right, that it is our own God mind or Christ mind, or the voice that comes to us is none other than our own.
Yeah.
But it's that part of us that we are striving to channel,
Yeah.
or to bring forth.
And I like to substitute the word God with the word love.
Or
And that
love,
makes perfect sense too, right? Because the very beginning of the Course says only love is real.
That's right. That's the one truth.
Yes. Okay, let's continue. Forgiveness of yourself. Forgiveness of yourself. No gift of heaven has been more misunderstood than has forgiveness. It has, in fact, become a scourge, a curse where it was meant to bless, a cruel mockery of grace, a parody upon the holy peace of God. Yet those who have not yet chosen to begin the steps of prayer cannot but use it thus. Forgiveness, kindness is obscure at first, because salvation is not understood, nor truly sought for. What was meant to heal is used to hurt, because forgiveness is not wanted. Guilt becomes salvation. and the remedy appears to be a terrible alternative to life. Forgiveness to destroy will therefore suit the purpose of the world far better than its true objective, and the honest means by which this goal is reached. Forgiveness to destroy will overlook no sin, no crime, no guilt that it can seek and find and love. Dear to its heart is error, and mistakes loom large and grow and swell within its sight. It carefully picks out all evil things and overlooks the loving as a plague, a hateful thing of danger and of death. Forgiveness to destroy is death, and this it sees in all it looks upon and hates. God's mercy has become a twisted knife that would destroy the Holy Son he loves. Would you forgive yourself for doing this? Then learn that God has given you the means by which you can return to him in peace. Do not see error. Do not make it real. Select the loving and forgive the sin by choosing in its place the face of Christ. How otherwise can prayer return to God? He loves his Son. Can you remember him and hate what he created? You will hate his Father if you hate the Son he loves. For as you see the Son, you see yourself. And as you see yourself, is God to you. As prayer is always for yourself, so is forgiveness always given you. It is impossible to forgive another, for it is only your sins you see in him. You want to see them there and not in you. That is why forgiveness of another is an illusion. Yet it is the only happy dream in all the world, the only one that does not lead to death. Only in someone else can you forgive yourself, for you have called him guilty of your sins, and in him must your innocence now be found. Who but the sinful need to be forgiven? And do not ever think you can see sin in anyone except yourself. This is the great deception of the world, and you the great deceiver of yourself. It always seems to be another who is evil, and in his sin, you are the injured one. How could freedom be possible if this were so? You would be slave to everyone, for what he does entails your fate, your feelings, your despair or hope, your misery or joy. You have no freedom unless he gives it to you. In being evil, he can only give of what he is. You cannot see his sins and not your own, but you can free him and yourself as well. Forgiveness truly given is the way in which your only hope of freedom lies. Others will make mistakes, and so will you, as long as this illusion of a world appears to be your home. Yet God himself has given all his sons a remedy for all illusions that they think they see. Christ's vision does not use your eyes, but you can look through his and learn to see like him. Mistakes are tiny shadows, quickly gone, that for an instant only seem to hide the face of Christ, which still remains unchanged behind them all. His constancy remains in tranquil silence and in perfect peace. He does not know of shadows. His, the eyes that look past error to the Christ in you. Ask then his help and ask him how to learn forgiveness as his vision lets it be. You are in need of what he gives, and your salvation rests on learning this of him. Prayer cannot be released to heaven while forgiveness to destroy remains with you. God's mercy would remove this withering and poisoned thinking from your holy mind. Christ has forgiven you, and in his sight, the world becomes as holy as himself. Who sees no evil in it sees like him. For what he has forgiven has not sinned, and guilt can be no more. Salvation's plan is made complete, and sanity has come. Forgiveness is the call to sanity. For who but the insane would look on sin when he could see the face of Christ instead? This is the choice you make, the simplest one, and yet the only one that you can make. God calls on you to save his son from death by offering Christ's love to him. This is your need, and God holds out this gift to you. As he would give, so must you give as well. And thus is prayer restored to formlessness, beyond all limits into timelessness, with nothing of the past to hold it back from reuniting with the ceaseless song that all creation sings unto its God. But to achieve this end, you first must learn before you reach where learning cannot go. Forgiveness is the key. But who can use a key when he has lost the door for which the key was made and where alone it fits? Therefore, we make distinctions so that prayer can be released from darkness into light. Forgiveness' role must be reversed and cleansed from evil usages and hateful goals. Forgiveness to destroy must be unveiled in all its treachery, and then let go forever and forever. There can be no trace of it remaining if the plan that God established for returning be achieved at last and learning be complete. This is the world of opposites, and you must choose between them every instant while this world retains reality for you. Yet you must learn alternatives for choice, or you will not be able to attain your freedom. Let it then be clear to you exactly what forgiveness means to you, and learn what it should be to set you free. The level of your prayer depends on this, for here it waits its freedom to ascend above the world of chaos and into peace.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Forgiveness, what it means to me is absence of judgment.
Right.
I mean, if you're looking at life and seeing a violation somewhere, you know, somebody's done something that they need to be forgiven for, that's kind of prejudging them
Right.
for something. But if you have an attitude of living without judgment, then you know that is automatic forgiveness in my mind. And
Right.
I associate lack of judgment more than forgiveness. You know, it has more meaning for me.
Right, because then there's nothing to forgive.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. That's where the error begins, with judgment, right?
Yeah. Same with my own ego. Obviously, my ego looms large, but the way to deal with it, I believe, is to just observe it without judgment. Be aware of what the ego is doing, and not judging it, because by judging it, I'm making it real.
Right.
You know, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of what it means to me.
Yeah.
Over the past couple of these last couple of segments, I've just been getting this overwhelming intuition that my meditations are my prayers. Because any of the things that come, any of the judgments, any of the thoughts, I just accept them, let them go, and concentrate on my breath or the candle or whatever I'm meditating on at the time. So it's such a big part of what I do and how I do it that I never really thought of it as prayer. I thought it as meditation. But everything that it's describing here is letting go, forgiveness, not judgmental, all these things. It's just what I deal with when I'm in meditation, and that I let go and continue to try to be one with everything. So it's just an observation.
Yeah. Yeah. I still go back and give credit to Carol, because Carol, I still say this prayer daily, and every morning and every night before I go to sleep. I say, I give my mind to the Holy Spirit so I can rest in peace, or I give my mind to the Holy Spirit so that I can walk in peace. And I give my heart to God so that I can be love. And that's it, right? I mean, what else can you pray for than to just be at one with the mind of Christ and the mind of God?
And let your own busy mind settle down.
Right.
Because that's
Right.
ego, isn't it? Busy mind.
It is. It is.
And when you go into stillness and quietness, you're joining with the holy mind, I think.
Right. With the one mind that we all share. Yeah, exactly.
And I take my small glasses off and see, a deeper vision, instead
Right.
of scrutinizing everything.
It's funny you say that, because I have glasses for, when I drive. I can see everything fine, but there's a little, it's just not crisp and clear, right? And I noticed that when I do yoga in a large room, right, I can't really see the person in the front of the room or the people in the front of the room. I can't see them clearly. But there's more peace with that. I find that it's much more peaceful when it's obscured, right? When the vision is obscured, when the body's sight is obscured, I feel there's more peace in my heart. So that's interesting that you say that, Carol, but I feel the same way.
That line from The Last Samurai, where he's looking at people meditating, and he asks himself, what does it mean to seek the stillness of the mind?
Mm.
And it's in that stillness, I guess, where the Christ mind is, or something like that. I mean, I don't know if that even has an answer.
I think the answer is in the question.
There you go. That's what the Course says. That's a line from the Course.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, that's what I think. You're right. It is, Ernesto. Yeah. Freddie's quoting the Course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does, if you say, what does it mean to experience the stillness of the mind? That is the answer, isn't it? The stillness of the mind
Right.
is the answer.
Right. Is the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're trying to think about it and ponder it is therefore not the stillness, is it?
Nah.
Right.
Well, but if you think about it again, it's putting you there.
Accepting it.
If you're letting go, right?
Mhm.
I think that's the next step, is then you let go and just listen. Yes. Okay, do we have time, do we think, to read one more section? The one more section is the forgiveness to destroy. We have 10 minutes. Yes?
It's quite a big one. No, it's not.
It's not too bad. It's
No,
not too bad. Let's give it a go and see how it goes. All right. Forgiveness to destroy. Forgiveness to destroy has many forms, being a weapon of the world of form. Not all of them are obvious, and some are carefully concealed beneath what seems like charity. Yet all the forms that it may seem to take have but this single goal. Their purpose is to separate and make what God created equal different. The difference is clear in several forms where the designed comparison cannot be missed, nor is it really meant to be. In this group, first, there are the forms in which a better person deigns to stoop to save a baser one from what he truly is. Forgiveness here rests on an attitude of gracious lordliness, so far from love that arrogance could never be dislodged. Who can forgive and yet despise? And who can tell another he is steeped in sin and yet perceive him as the Son of God? Who makes a slave to teach what freedom is? There is no union here, but only grief. This is not really mercy. This is death. Another form, still very like the first, if it is understood, does not appear in quite such blatant arrogance. The one who would forgive the other does not claim to be the better. Now he says instead that here is one whose sinfulness he shares, since both have been unworthy and deserve the retribution of the wrath of God. This can appear to be a humble thought and may indeed induce a rivalry in sinfulness and guilt. It is not love for God's creation and the holiness that is his gift forever. Can his Son condemn himself and still remember him? Here the goal is to separate from God the Son he loves and keep from him his source. This goal is also sought by those who seek the role of martyr at another's hand. Here must the aim be clearly seen, for this may pass as meekness and as charity instead of cruelty. Is it not kind to be accepting of another's spite and not respond except with silence and a gentle smile? Behold, how good are you who bear with patience and with saintliness the anger and the hurt another gives, and do not show the bitter pain you feel. Forgiveness to destroy will often hide behind a cloak like this. It shows the face of suffering and pain, and silent proof of guilt and of the ravages of sin. Such is the witness that it offers one who could be Savior, not an enemy. But having been made enemy, he must accept the guilt and heavy laid reproach that thus is put upon him. Is this love? Or is it rather treachery to one who needs salvation from the pain of guilt? What could the purpose be except to keep the witnesses of guilt away from love? Forgiveness to destroy can also take the form of bargaining and compromise. I will forgive you if you meet my needs, for in your slavery is my release. Say this to anyone and you are slave, and you will seek to rid yourself of guilt in further bargains, which can give no hope, but only greater pain and misery. How fearful has forgiveness now become, and how distorted is the end it seeks. Have mercy on yourself who bargains thus. God gives and does not ask for recompense. There is no giving, but to give like him. All else is mockery. For who would try to strike a bargain with the Son of God and thank his Father for his holiness? What would you show your brother? Would you try to reinforce his guilt and thus your own? Forgiveness is the means for your escape. How pitiful it is to make of it the means for further slavery and pain. Within the world of opposites, there is a way to use forgiveness for the goal of God and find the peace he offers you. Take nothing else, or you have sought your death and prayed for separation from yourself. Christ is for all, because he is in all. It is his face forgiveness lets you see. It is his face in which you see your own. All forms forgiveness takes that do not lead away from anger, condemnation, and comparisons of every kind are death. So that is what their purposes have set. Be not deceived by them, but lay them by as worthless in their tragic offerings. You do not want to stay in slavery. You do not want to be afraid of God. You want to see the sunlight and the glow of heaven shining on the face of earth, redeemed from sin and in the love of God. From here is prayer released along with you. Your wings are free, and prayer will lift you up and bring you home where God would have you be.
I'm going to be rereading this forgiveness stuff over a couple more. Absolutely.
Wait,
It's interesting.
so much of this sounds like today's so-called Christianity. It's describing all the, charging people with sin and all the hellfire and brimstone and all that other kind of crap. And their own judgments and on everybody else that they want to impose on people.
And it's even in the they that the judgment lies, right? Even when we see it in another. Now we have participated in it. So how do
we judge their judgment?
Right. So how do we free ourselves from judging their judgment, right? And see instead the Son of God and the Christ in them.
Forgiveness.
It's just literally a mind training to be non-reactive to stuff like that. And for me personally, I mean, my mind has been very conditioned to have a response. I mean, that's kind of like my whole career is like, you see something, somebody's got a complaint, there's an issue, you try to help, blah, 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 blah. But there's so much judgment, even in something as simple as that, even in something as simple as, oh, that cup of coffee was good, So
right.
Every single, literally, you have to kind of turn your brain off, because I don't know about you guys, but absolutely every thought really that pops into your head is actually a judgment of some kind.
Good or bad. Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent. It's a nice day. I don't know, but it's almost like the only way to get to that complete place of love, acceptance, forgiveness, whatever you say, is to basically just turn your brain off. I have difficulty reconciling that with living the life within the illusion. Because literally, it's like, unless I stayed in this house, in this little bubble and never went anywhere, when you people, I'm done people some days, but when you people, like I spend a lot of time rolling my eyes in my head. And I know that's a judgment. I know that's not seeing the Christ in others. And like, I literally, there's times I just cannot help myself from looking at a situation, how somebody's behaving, their response to something, or whatever, and just because I don't resonate with it, I just shake my head like, really? So, but that's all judgment. I recognize it as such.
There can be moments when that does not happen. Exactly what you're saying.
Well, it's mind training to just let all of that go. You can have the thought, but don't respond to it. Don't acknowledge. You don't even really have to acknowledge it. Just recognize it as popped into my head again, and then on to the next thing, without being reactive, without thinking about it, without responding, without judging. So you're right. But again, that for me is a 24/7 vigilance.
Well, it's an ongoing process. I mean, that there are, how do I even put this? there's an exercise that I have done where, you go into silence by not speaking any words. And that doesn't mean that you cannot speak, but most of the time, if you can go without speaking, I found myself going into that calm state where every time I looked at someone, I had no judgment at all. Because all of a sudden, not only are you not speaking, because I think what it did to me was that not speaking shut off my chatter mind. It shut it off, if I can even say that, right? Yes. So that you become, like, I know what you're saying. I think that most of us, that's what we've learned to do. That is part of our domestication.
Mhm.
That is the instinct of survival.
I know that there's actually even planned retreats. I think Omega had them, Carl, where that's like,
Silent.
it's like it's like 3 days of silence. I have a friend that was recently telling me that she did one and that it was very enlightening.
There's a lot of
It's like-
monasteries. There's a lot of monasteries that do that, do week-long silent retreats or even months.
Yeah.
With nothing is said.
You think I could do it, Carl?
Now maybe.
I think too, getting back to your original question is how do you do that? I
Right.
really, really do believe the lessons are a way to do that.
Also very
Maybe
helpful.
not the way, but boy, I'll tell you, every time I do the lessons again and again and again, it's just, again, like another polishing of the lens. And it really helps because they're meant to be experienced. You're meant to take them out. Like you said, how can I do that? If I have to be around people. Well, be around people, take the lesson with you, and then try it out when you're out there, whatever the lesson is for that day, try it out. And that really is a great way of getting there and doing it.
Got to get back to it
And
because
some
I
of,
got out of the loop when I was away. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mary, I interrupted you.
some of that going into silence that Ernesto was talking about is just giving yourself a few minutes or a minute to center yourself so that you're not reacting. And then you can come to it from a different place. For me, a lot of times it's recognizing that it's not about me. The person's just dumping their stuff on me because I was available at their right time. May not have felt right for me, but it was their right time to spew. And so I'm hearing it, feeling it, except that I don't have to take it on because I can recognize that it's their need. However, I can still ask myself, what's the message here for me? Was I anticipating, was I having issues about the rest of the world? Was I feeling somehow lesser than and was in a position to have this stuff, but I don't have to fully receive it and take it in. And that allows me the space to quote unquote forgive, to kind of accept that it's not really about me at all most of the time.
Right. All right, great conversations today. I know we ran a little over. It's 1:34, 1:35. Does anybody have anything they would like to share before we close for today?
Well, without sounding too crazy or gross, there's more ways to skin the cat. Meaning there's many ways that we can do that, being vigilant of mind or whatever, the lessons, all of it. You got to try all of it. The more you try, the more stuff will work.
Yeah, I was actually even thinking hot yoga. Hot yoga really does get you in that place of no mind, because you can't be thinking anything except, how am I going to get through this class?
I have one thing to share. You could even stop the recording because it's not even relevant to the Course in Miracles, but I was standing at my kitchen window this morning, thought I was hallucinating, but look who came to visit.
Aw,
It's a bear.
he's so cute.
Yeah, well, that's what Carl says, you know, the cute little ones, there's a big mama probably somewhere watching. I thought
Yeah.
it was hallucinating. But anyway, I've lived here 38 years. I've never seen a bear.
Yeah.
And it was like at 8:45 this morning. So that's my fun fact for the day. There
That's
are
awesome.
there are
Yay.
bears. in the
So
woods,
no
and-
swimming in your hot tub, no sitting in your hot tub after dark.
No kidding. I was out there last night.
They were watching you.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I bet you that cleared your mind.
You betcha. You betcha.
Well, thank you everyone for sharing. That was
Thank
great
you.
shared. Thank you, everyone. I will
Yeah,
see you
thank
next
you.
week. All
See you
right.
All right. Bye,
See you next
everybody.
week. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Right.